Just say your name and current occupation.
Well, Barbara Cassidy, and I am a volunteer at a Baby's Breath in Wayne.
And do you have a work occupation?
I did. I'm a retired nurse. I was a registered nurse for 35 years.
Okay. And how did you come to a baby's breath?
I Years ago, I attended a Baby's Breath banquet like tonight's, and I never forgot about the organization. And then I was referred to a Baby's Breath after I had completed my work at Pennsylvanians for Human Life. I was with them for 11 years, and I wanted to continue working for a pro-life organization, and I was referred to a Baby's Breath.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
And you stuck with it because you liked the idea of the advocate training, or the advocate offers
Everything.
service?
The advocate, everything that is available to young mothers. It's a whole holistic picture of what young women and young families need: education and assistance, everything.
What would you say the best thing that a baby's breath or organizations like a baby's breath can offer women who deal with crisis or families in crisis?
I would say a safe haven, a sanctuary. Women that are pregnant and don't have a support system are very scared. So you have this sanctuary where you feel safe. And then you have support with the logistics of bringing a child into the world, and really, and the non-judgmental attitudes, because women that are facing crisis pregnancies are exposed to incredible negativity and incredible pressure.
And also propaganda from our media.
Yes, and it starts at a very young age. I was in a master's program years ago at Westchester University, and the professor was saying that many attitudes toward abortion are formed by the age of 12. I was shocked when the professor said that. By the age of 12, many youngsters, I would call them, already know how they feel about that subject matter, whether they're pro-life or pro-choice. They already have made their minds up, more or less. And I would have thought it would have been 17 or 18.
Yeah.
No, she said it was more like 12 or 13. That's because of the media
Wow.
and Planned Parenthood getting into the high schools and so forth.
Middle schools, it sounds like, too.
And the middle schools. And the parents. The parents are part of it. The parents are part of the pressure.
Are the parents actively enforcing, or do you think they just distance themselves from intervening when they should? What do you think is a bigger
I
issue?
think the parents. My husband Tom comes from a very pro-life family, and it's understood that if you are pregnant, you are going to become a mother. There's no way that child is not going to be born and have the gift of life. But a lot of post-abortive women I have met, the pressure came even from their own parents, their own mothers. That the mothers took control of the situation and said, "This is what we're doing. We're going to Planned Parenthood."
Wow.
Yeah.
So even the person that you're supposed to trust the most deceived them, sounds like. How does a baby's breath deal with those kind of poisonous or toxic relationships that come into a baby's breath? I mean, if somebody comes with a vindictive loved one that doesn't want life to exist, is there really a strong chance the life is going to be brought into the world?
It's an uphill battle, truly. If you have a spouse or a boyfriend, a fiance, or parents that want the mother to abort, they are going to do everything possible to prevail. And that's why it's important to have a safe place to go. Because a lot of times, young women, when they come to a baby's breath, they are not getting a lot of positive reinforcement. Although others are. Some I have been told, if you go to a baby's breath, they will help you. They're there for you. So sometimes they come to a baby's breath because they've been referred and they want to have their child. Other times they don't know where to turn. Yeah.
So does that make it easier if people, I guess it doesn't make it anything easier, but people that come by with the intention of wanting a child, they're easy to talk to, right? How
Yeah.
often do you have the people that came but aren't quite sold that they want a child?
I would say not probably, in my experience with a baby's breath, not as often. Usually the young mothers I've met, they want to have a child, but they
Okay.
need help. They need support. They need answers to some of the challenges of bringing a child into this world without a reliable support system. So,
And I guess what is your motivation to try to counsel these women? They're afraid, but why do you want to comfort them?
because I want them to know that this, even though it's a very scary time in their lives, it's a temporary time. They say that abortion is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I want them to know that as scary as it is and as terrifying as it is, they can do it. They don't think they can, but they can do it. And if they don't do it and they abort their unborn child, that's even worse than what they're going through now. They just don't know that. And I know that myself as a post-abortive woman, that the real pain begins when you abort your child. Even though you think you're in a bad way and at the time and you're afraid, it's nothing compared to what's coming later. And they don't know that. They're not told that by the media, that there's a psychological carnage and aftermath. They're not told that. So when it hits them, they don't know what to do. And they say that the post-abortion syndrome, is even harder on teenagers than older women.
It makes sense, I guess, if they're biologically developing still and they're at their reproductive peak. I guess you've just destroyed what your body's at peak condition to do.
Well, I think when you're a teenager, you have a sense of innocence. You really do. And when you destroy the life inside of you, it's innocence ruined. It's destroyed. And you can't make sense of it. They say teenagers cannot process ending the life of their own unborn children. It's very hard for them to process that later. They're more likely to experience depression and self-destructive behaviors later because they can't make sense of it. Because before that, they were in a sort of in a protected world, and now they've ended the life of their own unborn child, and it's very hard to process when you're a young person.
What is the counsel that helped you overcome the barrier of forgiving your own struggles through abortion? What has given you the most counsel of support?
I would just say it's been a very long journey for me. I needed to be counseled. I was counseled by a therapist who specialized in post-abortion healing, and I've accepted God's grace and God's forgiveness. But it took me 30 years to be able to talk about my abortion. I couldn't talk about it before, and I wasn't healed. Now it's been almost 50 years. I'm 50 years post-abortive, and I'm in a better place, thanks be to God. But I do want to warn young women, because it's a very fateful decision, and they have no idea how it's going to impact them later. They don't even know what hit them later.
I guess my last question then would be, what would you tell yourself before you could have an abortion? What would you tell that person to convince them not to?
I would lead with them to give their unborn child the gift of life, whether it's through adoption or raising the child themselves, and they will never regret it. They will never be sorry, and they will be able to move forward in life. Because I have known women who have given their children life through adoption, and they're able to move on, and they're not destroyed psychologically. But women I have known that have had abortions, they suffered tremendously. And I just warn them, even though you think it's hard right now, if you don't have this child and give this child a gift of life, it's a very fateful decision. You have to live with it the rest of your life. And I take it from me, you won't regret it. You will thank God that you gave your unborn child the gift of life. Believe me. Yeah.
Thanks be to God that you were here today
Oh,
spreading this message. I really appreciate it.
oh, thank you.
Uh,
Well, I'm glad that your mother has given me the opportunity to speak about my experience and warn others.
yes, it's very honoring that God has given you us today. I'll let you get back to tonight's
Okay.
event.
Thank
But
you.
appreciate you staying,
Yeah,
sitting here.
my pleasure.